Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. NJ here. We are today looking at the OMPhobby M4 direct drive 3D helicopter. Very excited about this one. I've done video reviews on both the M1 and the M2. Absolutely love those helicopters. Incredibly affordable, incredible performance, great whether you're a beginner or a 3D smack pilot. Loads of videos out there showing you how they fly, and there's flight videos in mine if you want to see that, with some 3D flying as well. Just amazing helicopters. I'm very interested in the M4. Very interested in the M4 for a couple of reasons. One is the size is just a little bit bigger than the other two. And there is a point where a helicopter stops being quite so micro, and it gets to this size where you still want it to be portable and run off run off one pack, a 6S pack, but one fairly small pack. And it's just portable but still has this incredible presence in the air. And I always loved the T-Rex 500, the original one, the first one, for that, because even though it was a 500 class, they called it a T-Rex 500, it was actually smaller than that. It was really between a 400 and a 500. And it was the perfect size because it had so much presence. It was easy to see a little bit further away, but flew like a helicopter, far bigger than it was, which I love. And the OMPs are like that. They just fly way bigger than they have any right to. So I'm really excited about this particular size and this new design. Speaking of which, the designer Jonas, who's collaborated with OMP, I'll link in his channel in the description. Super nice chap, very clever chap. Works, I certainly know he did work for Roadtech. I think he still might, on the aerofoil designs and the tech that goes into those. He's always on the HeliFreak forums helping everyone out, and on his YouTube channel. I've yet to see a real detailed overview of this helicopter up close from him. I'm expecting that will happen at some point, so it's well worth watching that when he does bring it out. But yeah, this is kind of his baby, so lots of reasons to be excited about this helicopter. We're going to build it, but first of all, let's just have a look at some stuff that's in the box here. So I went for the kind of magenta red one. I thought that was a nice colour, different to the other helicopters that I have. I have the M2 Evo in this colour as well, so I thought they'd look nice together. But yeah, great paint job. Standard thing with OMP. Their paint jobs on their canopies are absolutely sterling. Very lightweight, and they're decently robust. And again, quite affordable. I like the prices. Some canopies, especially the old fiberglass ones back in the day, painted ones, you could spend anything up to £100 on a canopy. I mean, just larger helicopters in general, they get so expensive. Yeah, so this is it. Let's go fly. Just kidding. It does appear that this one is kit form. Good job. I love building kits. Helicopter kits, what a joy. If you're into helicopters, you get it. Or if you like building Lego or anything where you bolt stuff together and meticulously, go through plans. And it's not a helicopter with a great huge part count. This is a pretty quick helicopter to build, but I'm very excited to get this one airborne and put together. This is the PNP kit, which was sent over to me by Scotia RC. Big shout out and thank you to them, and also to Nancy, Chloe and Yuri at OMPhobby for helping hook this all up. Let's see what else we've got in here. So let's have a look at this. That is really quite beautiful. There's our motor, and that is an absolute beast of a motor, because of course this helicopter is direct drive, which means that is really in there as well. Gosh, can I get it out? There we go. Come on. There we go. Yeah, that is, wow, look at that. That's a lot of stators. It's interesting to see the kind of design they've gone for here. Now, it is a Sunny Sky motor. And being someone from the drone world, right from its conception really, Sunny Sky were always around, and I've always been impressed with Sunny Sky. They just have always created great motors. They've been doing it a very long time, and the bearings have always been good. They're a great company to collaborate with, so I've got good high hopes for this. Yeah, that feels really smooth as well. There's kind of always two ways to look at how you develop torque in a motor. Well, there's a lot more to it than two ways. There's tons of tons of things that go into developing a great motor, but two schools of thought, I guess, when it comes to generating torque. And I've always thought of it like a jam jar as a nice way to kind of get your head around how these things work. You can either have, you know, to generate the same amount of torque, you could have a motor that's much narrower and more traditional, like a can motor, but very long. And that's like being able to get your whole hand. Imagine a jam jar lid that was just absolutely huge and long. You better grab your hand around it and easily get the jam jar lid off. Or the other way to do it is to, you know, point of leverage from the fulcrum, your point of rotation, just go further out. So you could have a really thin normal size jam jar, but have the actual lid like extend out this way. And then you've got loads of leverage to undo that jam jar lid. So yeah, there's a couple of ways you can achieve the torque you're after. And then of course you get into the kV, or, you know, RPM per volt, and the efficiencies, and that has a lot to do with the windings, and yeah, there's more that goes into it. But at Sunny Sky, I've got so much experience in this stuff. I'm sure this motor will be wonderfully efficient and perfect for the job when it comes to power. I know that's a really big part of getting it all right. So yeah, that really does look fantastic. What else do we have in here? We've also got so we've got the tail blade assembly there, feathering shaft and the grips, and we've also got in here, let's pull this out, we've got our swash plate, which again, very nicely machined. Tolerances feel beautifully tight. You'll also notice they've decided with this one to provide you with a lot of pre-assembled parts, but it does stipulate in the manual this is not ready to go in. This is assembled, but you have to undo everything, add Loctite, and put it back. And when we do the build video, I'll show you a couple of tips on how to correctly apply Loctite, because I see so many people get that wrong. I know it sounds like a stupid thing, like put thread locker on it and you go. There's actually a right and a wrong way to do that, and if you do it the wrong way, you can cause problems and get Loctite into places it shouldn't be going, etc. But yeah, all of this needs disassembling, and it'll probably have some machining lubricant possibly still on some of it, so I tend to make sure these parts are clean first, undo it, clean them up, and nearly you put a paper towel on one of these on the thread and give it a twist, I bet you there'll be black stuff come off of it. So I give them a little clean, because the grease and machine lubricant on these parts will break down the thread locker. So again, clean the parts, go back in with thread locker applied correctly, and then you'll have a good time. You don't have to worry about things coming undone when you're flying. Because helicopters, unfortunately, by virtue of, you know, their design, just by the sheer nature of them, have many single points of failure. Same on the real thing. So redundancy, I mean, it's just something that's got to have the absolute utmost attention to detail. Pre-flight checking is really important. There's lots of things where, you know, something could come off and the whole thing's falling out of the sky. If this vibrated out and it wasn't Loctited in properly, and that went up to as a swash link up to the main blade grip, that popped off for any reason, or it's not that the link popped off, but this unscrewed, you're coming out the sky. You know, it can be the tiniest, cheapest part, and you haven't paid attention to that one screw, and that could end your day badly. So you really build it well, take your time, pay attention as you do it, and it will make a huge difference to the longevity of your helicopter, and, you know, not having to maintain it all the time. There's quite a few bags of bits in here. What else we got? Let's try and speed through some of this. So that looks like tail output shaft and the tail slider with the ball links for that. We have the carbon tail fin, the holders for the output shaft. We got the belt drive in there, because this is belt driven. There'll be a wheel that will mount on the motor, I would imagine, with a gear, and the pulley will sit in that, and a couple of pulley guides, and go off and drive the tail. So yeah, that's good. I imagine this will have plenty of tail authority. I've got to say, that colour of red is not a terribly good match to, let's get the canopy up here again. If I'm going to criticise anything, I would say, yeah, it's a lot darker, and the white isn't really white. It's more like a, you know, off-white, reddy pink. I'm not the best, you know, the biggest fan of that. I think that could have been a better colour match, but okay, I'm being finicky here about the aesthetic stuff, but I mean, you can see even the let me get the motor here. You can see again, this is most closer to the canopy, but this dark shade of red, don't know. I think that could be done a little bit better, but hey ho, that's just a small aesthetic thing and I'm nitpicking. This looks like more frame parts. There's the pulleys. These are the pulley guides for the tail belt. What else have we got here? This looks like, that looks like a section for clamping. The boom will slide into that, so that's all inner frame stuff. Yeah, these are all bits that go in between the frame. Let's move these over, see what else we've got here. Got a pack of skids. I'm glad they've stuck with plastic skids. They're more forgiving, they flex. Carbon skids, I just think they're a bad idea, because especially if you're practicing autos and stuff, and this helicopter will auto, despite being direct drive, it will do a perfectly fine job. You want flex, you want bounce. You know, Mikado are very good at this. You know, they use a lot of plastic in their helicopters. Maybe I think it's the very largest one, the 800's carbon side frames, but most of their premium helicopters are a plastic composite. And they fly incredibly. I had a couple of logos in my time, and yeah, there's nothing wrong with plastic parts if they're used in the right place. So yeah, there's that in there. That looks like possibly a mounting tray for the receiver or the flight controller probably. So there's that. What else have we got in here? There's the side frames. Yeah, and again that off-white sort of pinky colour. Maybe that is the pink colour that they were after, but I do think this could have been brighter. Yeah, maybe that's why they wanted it. Oh, there's Jonas's signature. That's cool. Jonas, you made it. You're on the side of a helicopter now. Who's going to get the first Jonas signature tattoo? That's the question. Right, so side frames. We then have, right, so there's the pulley gear with the guides that go on the top and the bottom to keep it in position. You've got your main shaft there, which is hollow, which is always better. Hollow main shafts are stronger. Solid ones are heavier and they bend. So we could do a whole topic on why that is, but we're not going to do that today. We've also got here, this looks like the motor mount to me. We have a blade caddy, that's lovely. Some Jonas stickers and the standard turn me on stickers. Are so cringe. I wish they'd stop doing that. Turn me on. Really? OMP. Tail blades. Now these are plastic. And I think it's good. Again, I've got no problem with plastic tail blades. They're more forgiving. They're usually the thing that end up smacking the grass, and they're cheap to replace. And sometimes a little bit of flex in the tail blades can give you act as a little bit of dampening. I've found plastic tail blades have usually flown better for me than carbon ones. Main rotors are carbon though. It's important those are nice and stiff and precise. These are the these are the motor guards. Now, yeah, I can understand for keeping it light using a plastic guard for that motor, but this is an expensive thing, this, and personally, because the Goblin does a similar thing, I'd really want those to be either a thicker plastic, a much stronger piece of plastic, or ideally have those made out of aluminium. Something that I don't mind these breaking or denting or whatever, if I just want them to protect this, the expensive bit. Whereas I feel that even with it, once it's braced, I'm sure it'll become more rigid. I just hope something couldn't just go straight through that and damage your motor. So yeah, I think I'd prefer that as a machine part myself. But yeah, there you go. Maybe there's always loads of upgrades to come out along with that. Looks like we've got the cyclic to servo links here with the reverse thread on one side, so that you can grab these with a little tool and turn them clockwise or anti-clockwise, and then the whole thing moves in and out to adjust the height. I mean, I can't believe how long it took before this became a standard thing. Back on the old days, that was just a pain in the bum. We got more screws, washers, looks like possibly tail output shims there, I think, for making sure there's no slop. I'm guessing here a lot, so sorry if I get some of this wrong. That looks like the servo mounts. Main shaft goes through there, servos mount to these in a 120 degree style, which is very popular, works, tried, tested. We got more. That's probably push rod links, I would think. Push rod for the tail servo. Servo horns. I'm pretty sure these are metal geared servos, which is brilliant because plastic geared servos just break and they're a pain in the arse and you've got to take them apart and get gear sets. So metal servos is good. Plastic horns is excellent because these are a point of failure. They're designed to break in a crash and absorb crash inertia and impact, and that when you break something or when there's crash energy, that energy has to dissipate somewhere, and it will, you know, the idea is for it not to find an expensive part of your helicopter and break that, but to break in a nice cheap place. Same concept with the M2 and the M1. You know, these break. These are cheap as anything. You replace those and then you're good to go again. So I'm a big fan of that, and they're strong enough to be precise for the job they're intended. Right, 2 bags left in the main bit. Let's have a look. We have this, which I'm sure I'll work out what it is at some point. I'm guessing this is something to do with the tail mounting. Yeah, I think these blocks go between... Oh yeah, so the servos get the tail servo mounts inside the frame, and either side of it, that block goes in and that allows it to mount into the frame, I think is what that is. And then we've also got a little accessories bag which has, I would say that's a battery tray. I think we've got lugs. I would dearly like to see 2 battery trays. No one goes out with, I mean, I get it, OMP need to make some money on after sale stuff, so if you want more battery trays you can do so. You can probably 3D print these, I suppose, if you're that way inclined. You've got a 3D printer. A couple of battery straps. Are they rubber gripped? Doesn't look like they are, but I suppose you can put some rubber grip on here. I'd want rubber grip either from the strap or I'd want it on the plate, because I don't want my battery sliding around during manoeuvres, changing my CFG. Although it's mounted sort of like this up on the frame, that's a very good way of doing it, and keeps that, even if it did move a little bit, it will keep the CFG kind of in one place. So yeah, that's it. That you know, for bigger helicopter builds, this would be like 1 bag of 6 or 7 bags. So I don't think this will take very long to build at all. So that's that. We have a very nice manual here. No real complaints. I had a little look through it, but it gives you the sort of the main specs of the helicopter, a fairly easy guide to follow, and you can see they mention here about parts are on there loosely. Take it apart, clean them up. We'll do that in the build video. We'll go through getting this thing together in the manner which it deserves. There is a couple more boxes in here. Let's have a look. We've got this is the PMP optional extras. So we got these servos in here. It looks like we got the pre-assembled rotor head, and we also have the speed controller by the looks of things. So let's pull a servo out and have a little look at that. Now there'll be, someone will make these, probably not OMP. I don't know if they're brushless coreless or what they are. I'd imagine they probably are brushless. But yeah, these look very nice. I'm sure they're high quality and hopefully metal geared. But yeah, there's our cyclics. So we should have 3 cyclics and 1 fast tail motor, but they will have, you'll know which one's different because it'll have a different number on there to the other 3. Pre-terminated ESC, I absolutely love that, and I also like the fact that you can see this frame mounts. I mean, genius. One less thing flapping around in there. That actually mounts the frame. Great idea with that. It is a 65 amp ESC, more than enough for something this light and small. And then it's got the whatever this XT is. It's an XT style of I'm not sure what the actual connector name is because I've never seen one like this. But again, there is you can see there's a pattern, so you can't plug it in the wrong way around. So it should be running the right way round from the off. But that's easier to change in your settings, I'm sure. Can you change it in the settings? I wonder if there's a programming interface for this. Entirely likely. Yeah, we'll look more into this when we build. I'm planning to put it together with a MSH Brain 2 if I can find one, because they're not very easy to get in the UK at the minute. They're out of stock everywhere. But yeah, that will go in and stay in. Yeah, I love this. It's just a whole lot less soldering than I would otherwise have to do. Not that I mind soldering, but one less thing to solder is never a bad thing. Let's have a little look at the rotor head. Very nice, black anodized aluminium, which looks pretty swish. And we've also got, you can see there, the center markings for helping you get yourself all centered up with your servo push rods and links, so that's very useful. And I imagine these are also predetermined degrees of movement as well for when you're setting your pitch, so that stuff's all useful. I think they're all black except for the blue one that comes with silver hardware, but the rest of them they've put this black hardware with it, which I think matches beautifully. And then yeah, they have dropped, they're not using the DFC style, I don't think, which is something they did drop from the M2, was a DFC style, and then they went to non-DFC style for the Evo. Or maybe this is DFC style. I need to look at the closer at the rest of the rotor head and swash components. But yeah, there's a whole thing about whether to run DFC or not. They were very popular at one point, running a DFC head, and then some companies just started putting the washout arms back on. And the DFC is probably more to talk about than I really want to go through now. But the problem is, although it works, having a DFC head and essentially locking that 90 degrees, stopping the swash plate, the upper swash plate from rotating, it then also kind of messed with the feathering of the feathering shaft. It couldn't really flex anymore, so at certain RPMs that would cause nodding, and it would be only pleasant within smaller kind of RPM ranges, especially low RPM. DFC heads kind of sucked at low RPM, whereas if you actually put the extra metal on and have the proper washouts, which this is, I'm being stupid, this is what, it's exactly what these are. So with the washouts, yeah, you don't have that problem. So that the, you know, this is actually acting as a proper swivel. The feathering shaft can actually move this way, which is resisted normally by the DFC, and therefore it's much better at different RPMs. So yes, that's why Jonas has gone with that, and probably why they did it on the Evo. So yeah, that's a cool thing. Last things in the box we have are, let's see, something taped to the bottom of the box there, looks like the pushrod shaft. We have the tube here for the tail, the boom, that's the word I was looking for. Yep, standard kind of teardrop shape, much like the other ones, which is obviously by design is a strong and rigid part. But again, I can't imagine these are very expensive, and if they go, they go. But the design's good and they don't flex. So I don't think you need, well, you don't, I'm just looking at the box there, you don't need to have tail supports to stop it moving around, so that the whole thing's designed to be super rigid without needing to add the sort of triangular carbon supports from the middle. So that's kind of cool, I like that. And then we've got in here these must be the blades, yes they are, 385mm Ultimate Rotatex, and it's great the kit comes with these are lovely blades. And I'm sure Jonas has something to do with this as well. So you get a set of those, which is fantastic. Yeah, 385. So yeah, 385 per blade with the additional spacing that you get by the actual hub. You're basically up at pretty much the 400 size disc that it claims to be, M4 400. So yeah, that's that. And then the last bit is taped to the bottom of the box. I'll just see if I can quickly get it out. There we go. And that is quite literally a carbon dowling, which will be the push rod that goes from the servo in the frame and pushes the tail pitch slider. That will, or the bell crank, that will push on these, and that will allow it to change the pitch of the tail blades. So yeah, that's not reinventing the wheel, it's a standard thing, works. So there you go, we've kind of covered everything that's in the box. So quite enough for this one video, but the next video we're going to go through some building tips, things that I've learned over, you know, a couple of decades of building and flying RC helicopters. We'll get this thing together. I think it will be great fun to put together, and in the meanwhile I'll be ordering that MSH Brain 2. It's not a flight control I've had before. I've always been V-bar, but I just want to use my TX16S because I love it. I'm not that much of a fan of the V-bar radio. I don't like the feel of it. And yeah, the Brain 2 is supposed to be excellent. I know Jonas flies that one, and he flies V-bar. He flies them all, I think. But yeah, thanks to everyone involved for getting this kit out. I look forward to building it, and there'll be more on this in the next video. Thank you so much for hanging around and bearing with me. For those who've been around and subscribed to the channel for all this time, I will see you in the next video very soon. We'll get building.